Hey everybody, thanks for tuning in to the AI Guide. We're excited to talk about a couple of very current topics this week. But before we get into that, thanks so much for tuning in. Be sure to follow us on Facebook and Twitter and Instagram occasionally, but really Facebook and Twitter. And also click the link below, get your free AI resource. The resource is free. Everything in the resource is free. And you're going to learn a lot more about AI than we can do in these short segments. And also get my book on Amazon, The Beginner's Guide to AI, History and Current Impact on 10 Different Industries. It's a super fast read. And check it out. It's very affordable. Thanks so much for tuning in again. So, a couple of topics this week that are both very, very current. And the first one is Blake Lemoine. And most of you have heard of Blake Lemoine now, longtime Google employee in their AI group, who went public that he found a sentient AI on Google's servers. And Google's response, he was fired on Friday of last week. So what does that tell you? Well, it tells you, first of all, that, of course, Google makes every employee sign what's called an NDA or non-disclosure agreement, also called a confidentiality agreement, where you're not allowed to talk about anything that you're doing in public. It's certainly not clear whether or not Blake Lemoine was working on this particular project. If he was, then he wouldn't have been allowed to talk about it. But if he wasn't and just stumbled on it, then, blanket confidentiality clauses, that would be interesting, especially in California, because California has the most employee-friendly laws in the country. So, but that's not the real story. The real story is this true or not? So Google immediately denied it, right? Well, here you have a guy who understood when he spoke about this that he would be fired. He understood that he would be ridiculed and said he was crazy and that he didn't know what he was talking about and all that. The complete personal character attacks. He understood all that, yet he did it anyway. One of the things that we know is that technology has become more and more increasingly concentrated in the hands of a very few companies, Google being one of the most powerful and concentrated companies. This article went on to say that Google made $235 billion on advertising last year. So they don't want anything interfering with this revenue stream. And what would happen if people really believed that they had a sentient AI going on there that they had invented and were hiding? Well, that would be a complete freak out. There'd be government investigations. There would be a lot of bad stuff for Google. We know that many people are working on this, right? This is not a surprise. We've done many, many videos on artificial general intelligence, or AGI, which is what a sentient AI is. And given the amount of people and companies working on this, it's virtually inevitable that this is going to happen. In fact, many very, very famous people, including Elon Musk, have warned about this. So it's clear to me, at least, and I have no proof, let me say that, but I try to give you the facts here. And it's clear to me that if someone is a liar here, I would not think it would be the guy who knew he was going to be fired, who knew he was going to be ridiculed, who knew he was going to be disparaged. And that it might be the other party that has everything to hide on something like this. Do not forget that these issues were previously raised by another Google employee, Timnit Gebru, who was promptly fired as well. So I think that Google needs to come clean. And their CEO went on the air to say, well, this isn't true, but I'm sorry to say that the denial wasn't credible, at least by someone who has been in a position for many, many years in corporations and been in situations where things were in dispute and credibility needed to be determined. And specifically, I needed to be the person to determine the credibility of what was being said. I found that interview not to be credible, and I have some experience in these matters. So it's, as usual, it's impossible to know what the truth is, and I will say that, but you can tell which direction I'm leaning in. So that's number one. Number two, OpenAI has decided to sell its most recent AI, which there's been very, very high interest in. It's called DALL-E-2. They're releasing it to the public. They're going to let 1 million people start to pay $15 for a monthly subscription, which isn't that much, and that'll give you roughly 460 drawings. So this is an AI that does remarkable drawings. There's been a lot of hitches with this thing. Some of the hitches include problems, as usual, with racist outcomes, meaning all white, and things like that. Bias in AI is pernicious and intractable, and OpenAI says they will halt signing up new people when there's a problem to be fixed. But this article talks about this extensively, and it says, all AI algorithms today have social biases in them. Why? They're programmed by people, and people are inherently biased. It's the rare individual who has no biases whatsoever. So obviously those biases are introduced into the algorithms either by the programmer or by the data set that is used. So clearly this is a breakthrough. DALL-E-2 is a breakthrough, right? It can create remarkable pictures. There are problems with it that will be ongoing that OpenAI will have to fix as they go along. But this is 2 for 2 for OpenAI. First, GPT-3, which basically took over voice recognition because it's been the most powerful thing out there for a year now by far, and the most accurate. And now DALL-E-2 for creating images for commercial art or personal art. Very interesting stuff. And thanks for tuning in. Click the link below, get your free resource, get my book on Amazon, The Beginner's Guide to AI. And we'll see you next time. Thanks a lot. Take care. Bye-bye.